glad to be here with you right now. I will start again because I think I'm not actually live yet. It seems to be having a bit of a delay. There. Welcome to a new office hour. I am so glad to be live with you today. Every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. for me, which is why it's dark. Today we have a beautiful topic. The topic is science and its use in language learning. So I look forward to telling you all about that. I probably won't tell you all about that because I can ramble about the topic for a long time. But I have a couple notes taken. I think I can keep it actionable and keep it to a normal size. And I also look forward to your comments and your questions. So please say hi in the comments. If you are watching the replay on Facebook, just give me a little replay or hashtag replay in the comments. And if you're watching now on YouTube, also please hit the comment section and tell me that you came. So I am live right now. I am waiting for a couple of students to show up. So if you're hearing this, please write a comment. Before I get into the actual topic, there are two announcements that I need to make. First, if you haven't heard yet, I am super happy to be launching my scholarship program. You can actually win a scholarship to the French Fluency Accelerator by applying to the scholarship program. Actually, let me put the application link in the comment section. So, and it works this way. Every person who buys an annual membership to the French Fluency Accelerator will create one spot for the scholarship program. So if you are a person with limited resources, you can apply for a scholarship. Please give me detailed answers in the questionnaire because, of course, the most questions, the more details you give me about you, the more likely I am to know if the program is a good fit for you and if you are a good fit for the program. We are looking for, you can apply from anywhere in the world. We are actually looking for the largest diversity in the students that we have. Of course, you will need to be an English speaker because most of the course is taught in English. The level of French really doesn't matter, but you have to be somewhere between beginner and say B2. If you're above B2, it's probably too easy for you. So that's the first thing. The second thing which ties into that is that you have in over 1 week, exactly, 8 days as of right now to join the French Fluency Accelerator and still benefit from the old price, which is $697 per year. And after this week, it will be more expensive than that, so $300 more. And if you join now, you will actually lock in the price, so it will keep being, the price will keep being low for you for as long as you're a member, and only the value of the course will increase. That course now has over 15 modules with topics as varied as different French grammar things. So we have verbs, we have actually 2 workshops about verbs. We have pronouns, we have adjectives, but we also have things as unexpected as energy healing, which is a topic that my students voted for. And I was super happy to make this module. It was amazing. I'm sure one day I will release this course separately, but right now the only way that you can access it is in the French Fluency Accelerator. So enough of a ramble about this. I just wanted to give you some housekeeping so you know the status of the scholarship program, which is new, and the French Fluency Accelerator. And now we are going to get into our topic of today, which is science and how science can help you learn a language or not. So I look forward to your comments and your contribution. I really would like this to be a discussion together, and I would love to hear more about your experience. I personally have very mixed feelings about the concept of science. I love science for what it brings. Like, I love actual science. I mean, I'm the kind of person who will actually look up scientific studies and read the text and seek to find out exactly what it is that those studies have found. And because often what happens is that science, the actual studies, are a lot more, how can I say that? They're a lot more cautious about their findings than most people who speak about science do. And very often people who speak about science but who are not scientists themselves, or who are not actually quoting the exact content of the scientific study, which they can't really do that because you would get bored. I mean, the content of a scientific study is always very long and often very watered down because scientists are very exact people. So what happens very often is that whether it's journalists or worse, marketers, the people who speak about science will tend to speak about science in absolute terms, not in terms of what is not in terms of what the science actually said, but will kind of make it say things. A little bit like the Bible or the sacred texts of any religion that some people would tend to turn around and just use in a way to pursue their own agenda. So that's something that you really, really need to watch out for. Not so much, not just when learning a language, but in general, when any kind of marketing product is claiming that this product was made according to science or is backed by science somehow. Science is being used and abused as a sales argument. And if it turns out that it is true and the product is wonderful and it works for you, then this is great. But if it doesn't work for you, then that's not a reason to think that you are broken. Because often people make really, really wild claim about how great their product is, backed by science. But really, when you look at the details, it's really nothing. Like you don't really have much to back it. I can get into a bit more details about that. That ties in actually nicely into the next point which I have, which is that science changes a lot faster than marketing does. So for starters, marketers or people who have an agenda of some sort will quote science as a sales argument, and you want to be a bit cautious about believing them. And often, like when you have a sales argument, you don't really let it go. I don't know if actually I say you, maybe not you, but I've noticed that the same sales argument are being used over and over and over again just because apparently it works, and that is why people stick to them. But science actually moves forward. And the thing that annoys me the most about that is that almost everything in the language learning industry that is quote unquote backed by science is actually based on behaviorism. And behaviorism is, as you might know, the work of Pavlov and Skinner, mostly Pavlov and Skinner at the turn of the 20th century. So 120 years ago. It's not exactly recent. It's not exactly based on any recent guidelines. For example, I work based on the CEFR because it's what I learned at the university. That was written in 2001. So it's already a little bit old, but we don't have any more recent guidelines for language learning. That's a bit old. By my book, that's not nearly as old as the kind of thing that, for example, Duolingo or most apps are based on, which is behaviorism. So behaviorism annoys me to no end because the problem with it is that it works just well enough that people can feel that it works, but not well enough that it actually makes them able to speak French in real life. I could probably ramble a lot more about behaviorism, so let me know if you want to hear more about that. I could make another video, or I could make another live about behaviorism in particular and why it's just not efficient and occasionally damaging. I do have, I mean, for example, if you go to the Duolingo website, I haven't checked that recently, maybe they changed it, but they used to have a link that said, hey, we have proof that it works, and when you click, you have like whichever scientific study which they think proves their point. I beg to differ because I can keep seeing student after student after student coming to me and telling me that they have been working with Duolingo a lot, very persistently, and that they still cannot speak French in any context outside of Duolingo. And there is a reason for that. The reason is because behaviorism has been proven again and again to only work in the context where you set up the experience. So again, I can tell you more about that, and that's a bit of a digression. But yeah, like the bottom line here is that the science that is being claimed to be used could be outdated or even maybe flat out wrong. So what's a man to do, or a woman, or a French student? What are you going to do? What can you do to mitigate that? Well, first, don't feel bad if something backed by science does not work for you. That is very likely to happen, that something that's quote unquote backed by science doesn't work for you. because yeah, science is just not as black and white as they would have you believe. Like I said in the first point, it's being used and abused a lot. So don't feel bad. That's very important. There are three things that you can do to help use science to your advantage and not be a full prey to the toxicity of this misuse of science. So the first thing would be to do your own research. That's a bit, I understand how difficult that is. It can take a lot of time. There can be a lot of skills needed. I mean, the reason why I do so much research in the French Fluency Accelerator for my students, and then I put it together in an actionable workshop that they can use, which I use my expertise to create those workshops, is because, yeah, it is really, really hard and really long and time consuming and annoying to do the research on your own every time. So if you can have someone that you trust that that does the research for you, or you trust, you have a course where the person you already trust has done the research, that is good. I would not recommend believing anyone who says that it's black and white and it will work every time and it will, like, there's no way that it won't work for you. I really don't recommend that. Like, these people are typically lying, or if they aren't lying, I mean, if they are sincere, they just don't know any better. I have not found anything like other than big principles like, yeah, you need to have the French language in your life, like this is a given, this will work for everybody because it's the only way you learn the language. So that would be an exception. But other than that, I have not found any little trick or technique that works for everyone. For example, I recommend to use a vocabulary notebook very often. I find that it works for most people. About 80% of people have success with this technique and they enjoy this technique, but it's 80%. It's not 100%. So people who tell you black and white, it's what works, they have cracked the code, don't believe them, try it out, and see for yourself if it works. And so then another thing that's really important is to make sure you trust the person outside of the science argument. Science is a very, very compelling argument. I will make it myself if I get a chance. I'm someone, I love to look into science and I love to hear. I love to just see how much I can integrate in my practice as a coach, because I'm always looking for a better way to work. And if I find a study or something that there's a chance that it will help my students, I will integrate it. But you want to make sure that you trust the person outside of the science argument, because people use backed by science as an argument to build authority, and you just want to trust the people because they know what they're talking about. Like, I have people who come to me after watching my YouTube videos and they tell me, yes, I want to work with you because I have watched your video and I trust that you know what you're talking about. Never ever has anyone come to me and said, oh, is that backed by science? It's not a question that people pose. It's just something that one day marketers have found out that it can build authority tremendously if you quote a study. So now they all quote studies. And it's fun, and I love to do it, and I don't think we should stop doing it. It's definitely interesting, but it's not enough alone. Like, work with me if you trust me. Do not work with me because I said science, right? So that's something. Like, make sure you trust the person, and make sure the person or the class or the application or tool or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a person, but you want to try out for yourself and see if you trust this person or this thing. And then not the last one, another thing that is really important is to believe your own results above anything else. That is super important. Believe your own results above anything else. Because at the end of the day, you're only responsible for your own study, so it doesn't matter if one technique works for 99% of the people. If it doesn't work for you, you have to ditch it. Of course, that will not apply if you were a teacher. I know that some teachers follow me and like to listen to my opinion on stuff. So you're welcome to be here if you're a teacher. I definitely welcome you, and especially your feedback. The comment section is widely open for you. I love to have a conversation about these topics with other teachers. But generally, I mostly speak to French learners, English-speaking French learners. And yes, you want to trust your own results because you're only in charge of your own study. It doesn't matter if it has worked for millions of persons before. If it doesn't work for you, ditch it. Or, I mean, ask a coach like me, why is it that it doesn't work for you? Maybe it's because you're doing something wrong, in which case you want to change what you're doing, to shift it so it starts working. or sometimes it's possible that the people that it worked for are just fundamentally different from you. That is also an issue that we have with science nowadays, and especially psychology. And the vast majority of the science that language learning is based upon falls under the category of psychology, mostly. I don't know that epigenetics can be considered psychology, but that's very recent. I know very few people, actually, I don't think I know anyone outside of myself who has used epigenetics in their work as a language teacher or a language coach. I don't want to say it's just me because I don't know, maybe someone else did, but I don't know anyone else who did. So it's not mainstream at all, it's very niche. So anyway, where was I going with that? When something has worked for millions of people before and it doesn't work for you, it's either because these people were vastly different were vastly different from you. Yes, I remember what I wanted to say about psychology. And the main issue with psychology is that almost every single study has been made with using psychology students as the sample, the basic sample they make that's how a scientific study works. So you make an hypothesis, and then you go to test the hypothesis with a bunch of people, which you call the sample. And very often in psychology, the way that they do it is that they look at, they recruit volunteers for the study, and the volunteers that are there are psychology students. It follows that those people are mostly what science critics have called later weird. So WEIRD. So that stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. And these are characteristics that are not pervasive in humanity. Not everybody is a Westerner. Not everybody is educated. Not everybody is from an industrialized country or a democratic country or a rich country. And the fact that psychology is based on this particular population is a bias that makes psychology studies irrelevant to many people, or worse than that, it causes psychologists to enforce standards that are just unrealistic on people that just do not fit those standards. And it's possible that it is the case for you. So when you're trying to use something to learn and you know that this tool is quote unquote backed by psychology, be careful and only believe your own results over anything else. Because like I said before, you are only responsible for your own study. You are not responsible for whichever millions of people came before you. Maybe they were different. Maybe they were neurotypical and you're neuroatypical. That's possible. And do not beat yourself up or think that you can't learn for whatever reasons. That is actually my next point, which is it's very difficult, but try to know your limiting belief and listen to your mind chatter with a discriminating ear. Try to listen to what your mind is telling you, because very often your mind is lying to you. And for example, I've seen tons of students who believe that they are unable to learn for whichever reason. And sometimes it's something they have heard their entire life, or it's something that people believe across the board, but it's a load of BS. I'm sorry to put it this way, but like things like, oh, you can't learn a language if you're an adult. No, like honestly, adults can learn better than children. The only reason why children look like they learn better than adults is because they do it playfully and they don't put so much pressure on themselves. But it's actually a lot easier to learn as an adult because you have much better tools and techniques that you can use, such as using your existing language, or being able to read, for example, or being able to write and take notes. So these are all reasons why it's definitely not easier for children, and if anything, it's easier for adults. A lot of people, because I work with native English speakers for whom French is their second language, these people tend to believe that it's harder if you're a native English speaker. Now, while it's true that it's statistically harder, the reason is because most English natives have not been exposed to language learning at any point in their life. It's not the fact of being an English native which makes it difficult for you, it's the fact that you are not familiar with any of the techniques. So yes, if you're an English native, you are statistically less likely to learn a foreign language in your life. You are not less able, you are just as able as any other human. You have the same brain. So there are another couple of limiting beliefs that you might have. In fact, you might want to use the comment section to ask me if something is a limiting belief. Just type in the comment section something that you believe about learning French or about yourself, and I can answer as a question if that would be a limiting belief. But yeah, that would basically be the end of my talk for today. It's already 20 minutes. I've been rambling quite a lot. I know I started after like 3 or 4 minutes speaking about that. But basically, if something, no matter how backed by science it is, if something doesn't work for you, there can be many reasons, and it's never that you're broken or that you can't learn. I have never seen a student who could not learn. And there's no, like, short of having really bad brain damage or a brain degenerative disease that's really out of control, basically, because even with early onset of Alzheimer's, you could still probably learn a language. And in fact, it has been proven by science that if you learn a language, you can delay the onset of Alzheimer's, which is really cool. So no, like there's no such thing as you can't learn. And if the whatever backed by science thing doesn't work for you, it's not because you're broken. It's not because you're wrong. It's probably because the scientific claim was exaggerated in the first place, or because that science was based on other people different than you, or it's because you might not be using it the right way, or yeah, like for some reason it's not working for you right now. But it's not because you can't learn. Like either another technique will work for you, or changing the way that you deal with the technique will work for you, or you will be able to learn anyway. So I hope that I have convinced you that this is basically not let quote unquote science bully you around. The use of science and the scientific claim can be very, very toxic. If something backed by science works for you, yoo-hoo, this is amazing, keep it, that is what you want. But if it doesn't work for you, the fact that it's backed by science should not be an argument to start, to keep doing what doesn't work or to feel badly about yourself. So I hope that this makes sense to you. I'm happy to hang around for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, please just type your questions in the comments. I think there are 5 people watching right now, so if you have any questions or any feedback or any experience to share, I look forward to seeing this. And if you have been watching on YouTube until this point, thank you very much. Please hit the comment section and share your experience or your feedback with me. And yeah, this is amazing that you're still here. Well, I guess I could tell you here. I could tell you that. So I'm working right now on creating a secondary YouTube channel for those replays, because it's just not working on my first channel. It's making everything look messy. So I will finish that this week probably. Maybe I should have said this at the beginning. But anyway, if you have any questions, please comment them in the comment section right now. And otherwise, I will see you next week. Also, if you're not on my Telegram channel, please join Telegram. I will actually, while you're typing the questions, maybe I will slip the Telegram link in the comments. And if you're on your phone, you can just grab the link and join. And if you're not on your phone, you will have to use your phone for that. There. Yeah, I should have commented them on that. Oh no, it's good. You have a little preview. All right, so if you don't have any questions, I'm just going to go. I hope that everything is well for you, and I will see you next week. Bye.